That email arrives and your heart sinks. Your brilliant proposal, the one you worked on for weeks, has been rejected. We have all been there, that sudden sting making us question everything. But what if I told you that moment of rejection is not an ending, but a hidden training ground for leadership? This is not about the passive acceptance you might associate with ancient philosophy. Stoicism is a proactive toolkit, a mental fortress built for action. By the end of this, you will possess 25 specific Stoic tactics to systematically rewire your response to rejection, turning every single no from a personal wound into your greatest strategic advantage. We will uncover how leaders mentally rehearse failure to disarm it, and why loving your fate is the ultimate power move. What is the one rejection that still echoes in your mind? The sting of that rejection email feels so personal because we are caught completely off guard. We become attached to one specific future, one perfect outcome. But Stoic leaders operate differently. They do not wait for disaster to strike. Instead, they actively invite it in for a cup of coffee long before it ever knocks on their door. This is the first tactic, a practice the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. It is not about pessimism or expecting the worst to happen. It is about mentally rehearsing potential setbacks, including rejection, to drain them of their surprise and their power. Think of it as inoculation for your mind. A leader preparing for a crucial sales pitch does not just visualize the handshake and the signed contract. They sit down in a quiet moment and vividly imagine the opposite. They picture the client's face, neutral and unimpressed. They hear the words, "I am sorry, but we are going with another proposal." They feel that initial jolt, that tightening in their chest. And then, crucially, they mentally walk through what happens next. They see themselves taking a calm breath, maintaining their composure, and asking a professional, clarifying question. They visualize themselves thanking the client for their time and gracefully exiting the conversation, their dignity and plan entirely intact. By doing this, they achieve two profound things. First, they detach from the one specific outcome they are craving. The success of the meeting is no longer the only acceptable result. Second, they have a pre-built neural pathway for handling the rejection. When the no actually comes, it is not a terrifying, unknown event. It is a scenario you have already navigated successfully in your mind. The emotional sting is dramatically reduced, and you are left not with panic but with a calm, pre-rehearsed response. You have already lived through the worst-case scenario and discovered you are still standing, still capable, and still moving forward. This practice of mental rehearsal reveals a profound truth about the nature of control. You discover that while you could not command the client's decision, you had absolute authority over your own preparation and your reaction. This brings us to the very bedrock of Stoic leadership, the second tactic, the dichotomy of control. This principle draws a clear, non-negotiable line in the sand between what is yours to command and what is not. On your side of the line, fully within your control, are your own judgments, your values, your desires, and your actions. Everything else, and this is the crucial part, everything else belongs on the other side. The opinions of others, external outcomes like promotions or approvals, and indeed rejection itself, these are all outside your direct control. A leader understands that pouring energy into what lies beyond that line is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. It is a futile drain on your focus and your power. So when that rejection arrives, the Stoic leader does not waste a single moment lamenting the outcome, which was never theirs to command in the first place. Their attention turns immediately inward to the one place where their power has always resided. They conduct a calm, honest audit. Did I give my best effort? Were my intentions aligned with my values? Was my preparation thorough? These questions focus solely on their own efforts and intentions, the only things that were ever truly theirs to command. This is not about self-blame, but about reclaiming agency. By focusing on your own sphere, you transform rejection from a verdict on your worth into raw data about your strategy. You stop asking, "Why did they reject me?" and start asking, "What within my control can I refine for the next attempt?" This shift in focus is what separates a reactive employee from a proactive leader. That redirection you just identified is where a leader makes their most profound move. This is the third tactic, Amor Fati, the love of fate. It is the ultimate evolution beyond mere acceptance. Amor Fati is the decision to not just endure what happens to you, but to embrace it, to love it as if you had chosen it yourself. For a Stoic leader, a rejected proposal is not a failure to be mourned. It is an essential part of the path fate has laid out, a necessary piece of the puzzle that is your life and your growth. Think of a powerful river flowing towards the sea. It never once stops to argue with the massive rock that suddenly blocks its way. It does not waste its energy raging against the injustice of the obstacle. Instead, it immediately begins to feel for a new path flowing around the rock, sometimes carving a deeper, more majestic canyon in the process. The rock did not stop the river. It redirected it, and in doing so, it created something even more beautiful and resilient. Your rejection is that rock. A leader looks at that no and asks, "What new path is this forcing me to discover?" Perhaps that closed door saves you from a problematic client you could not yet see. Maybe it pushes you to refine your idea into something far more robust and innovative, an idea that will later attract the perfect partner. When you love your fate, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as the co-author of your story, working in collaboration with every event, especially the difficult ones. This mindset transforms your entire relationship with adversity. You begin to hunt for the hidden gift in every setback, trusting that the universe is not punishing you, but rerouting you towards a destination you are meant to reach. This embrace of fate prepares you for a leader's most powerful shift in perspective. Your rejected proposal, that email that felt like a world-ending event just hours ago, begins to lose its overwhelming weight when you employ the fourth tactic, the view from above. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself not in your office, staring at that disappointing screen, but floating in the silent blackness of space. You look down and see the earth, a beautiful, swirling blue and white marble hanging in the vast emptiness. Now zoom in, find your city, a tiny grid of lights. Find your street, then your building. There you are, a microscopic figure at a desk. From this cosmic vantage point, can you even see the email? Can you perceive the sting of those words? This exercise is not meant to make your problems seem trivial or to dismiss your feelings. Its purpose is to restore a sense of true scale. That rejection, which felt so all-consuming and permanent, is revealed for what it is, a single, fleeting event in the long, sprawling timeline of the universe. A leader uses this perspective to drain the drama and urgency from the moment, creating the mental space for calm, rational thought. Think of the rise and fall of entire civilizations, the shifting of continents over millions of years, the slow, steady burning of distant stars. Your project, your career, even your entire life are but brief flashes in this immense tapestry. This realization is not depressing, it is profoundly liberating. It means that this rejection, no matter how sharp it feels today, is temporary. It will pass. Its power to define you or derail your mission is an illusion you create by standing too close to it. By regularly practicing this zoomed-out view, you cultivate a leader's unshakable composure. You stop reacting to every setback as if it is a final catastrophe and start responding to it as what it truly is, a small part of a much larger, ongoing journey. That cosmic perspective shrinks the drama of rejection down to size, but the raw emotion can still feel overwhelming right here on the ground. This is where a leader picks up a pen. The fifth Stoic tactic is to journal your impressions, and this is far more than just venting on paper. It is a disciplined exercise in emotional surgery, a way to dissect the event before your feelings can write a fictional story about it. The moment you receive that rejection, find a quiet space and open your journal. Your first task is to write down the absolute, objective facts of what happened. The email arrived at 10:17 a.m. It contained 127 words. The third sentence stated, "We have decided not to move forward with your proposal." That is it. Those are the facts stripped of all interpretation. Now, here is the crucial separation. On the next line, you write down your impression. My impression is that they think I am not good enough. My impression is that my entire idea was flawed from the start. My impression is that I have failed and this is a catastrophe. By forcing this separation between the event itself and your judgment of the event, you accomplish something profound. You realize that the pain is not coming from the 127 words in the email. The pain is coming from the story you are instantly telling yourself about those words. A leader uses this journaling practice to prevent a narrative of victimhood from ever taking root. They look at the two separate entries, the fact and the impression, and they ask a simple, powerful question. Does the fact logically guarantee that my impression is true? The email said they are not moving forward. Does that fact prove you are not good enough? No, it proves only that on this specific day, for their own specific reasons, they chose a different path. It is data, not a verdict on your soul. This dispassionate analysis extracts logical lessons instead of collecting emotional wounds. You might realize you need to ask better questions during the pitch, or that your pricing model was unclear. These are actionable insights you can use tomorrow. The sting of rejection fades because you have stopped adding poisonous meaning to a simple, neutral event. You have taken back the pen from your runaway emotions and started writing a much wiser, more resilient story for yourself. Your journal holds the raw facts, but history provides the context. The sixth tactic asks you to remember the impermanence of all things, a practice the Stoics called memento mori. This is not a morbid fixation on death, but a powerful reminder of life's beautiful, fleeting brevity. A leader who carries this awareness walks through the world with a different kind of lightness. That rejected grant application, the harsh criticism in a performance review, the project that fell apart, these events feel so heavy and permanent when they happen. But memento mori invites you to hold them up against the vast, undeniable truth of your own finite existence. One day, and you do not know which day, you will take your final breath. When that moment comes, will you look back and wish you had spent 3 more weeks agonizing over that one rejection letter? Will you regret that you gave a single no the power to stall your progress, to dim your confidence, to make you hesitate? Of course not. You will see it for what it was, a small ripple in the long river of your life, long since smoothed over by the current of everything that came after. This perspective is a tool for immediate liberation. It forces a question of profound priority. Given that your time is limited and precious, is this setback truly worthy of so much of it? The answer is always a resounding no. This realization does not trivialize your efforts or your ambitions. It does the opposite. It honors them by refusing to let temporary setbacks permanently derail your mission. A leader who remembers that life is short does not have the luxury of dwelling in the past. They take the lesson, feel the sting for a moment if they must, and then they turn their face forward, back to the work that matters, back to the time they have been given. This is how you handle rejection like a leader, by holding it against the ultimate measure of time and realizing it is simply not important enough to slow you down. That journal entry, with its clean separation of fact from fiction, clears the way for your mind's most powerful tool. The seventh tactic is to practice objective judgment. Now that you have stripped away the emotional story, you can apply pure, unflinching reason to the rejection itself. A leader approaches this like a detective analyzing evidence, not a defendant on trial. The central question is not, why did they hurt me, but what were the actual, probable causes for this outcome? Was the rejection based on the genuine merit of your proposal? Was it a matter of bad timing where the company's budget had already been allocated? Could it have been simple bad luck, like a key decision maker having a terrible day? Or was it influenced by a bias you could not possibly control? This cold, factual analysis is your shield against personalizing the event. Your work is not you. A rejection of your proposal is not a rejection of your entire being. When you break it down logically, you are left with one of two scenarios, and both are useful. If the criticism was valid and you discover a genuine flaw in your approach, then the rejection is not a failure at all. It is a priceless gift, a clear roadmap for improvement delivered directly to your door. That is data you can use to become stronger, sharper, and more effective. On the other hand, if your analysis reveals the rejection was unfair, based on a misunderstanding or a factor entirely outside your influence, then the event's power over you evaporates completely. An unfair rejection reflects far more on the person delivering it than on you. It speaks to their judgment, their circumstances, or their limitations. Why would you carry the burden of someone else's poor judgment? This practice of objective judgment builds a dual-layer resilience. It cultivates the intellectual honesty to accept fault when it is yours, and the emotional fortitude to dismiss criticism when it is not. You stop seeing rejection as a mirror reflecting your worth and start seeing it as a window into the complex mechanics of any situation. A window that gives you the clarity to either fix what is broken or confidently move on. That logical dissection of a rejection is a powerful tool, but it only prepares you for the leader's true work. A leader does not just analyze the obstacle. They walk directly into it because they understand the eighth tactic, the core Stoic mantra that the obstacle is the way. Every rejection you face is not a wall designed to stop you. It is the raw material, the very ingredient required for your growth. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. He does not look at the unshaped piece of steel and see a finished blade. He sees the potential within the rough metal. The fire, the hammer, the intense pressure, these are not enemies of the steel. They are the essential forces that will transform it from a useless lump into a weapon of incredible strength and sharpness. Your rejection is that fire, it is that hammer. It is the necessary friction that grinds away your rough edges and forges a more resilient version of you. History is filled with leaders and innovators who lived this principle. Consider the story of an inventor, someone like Thomas Edison, who faced not one or two, but thousands of rejections and failures in his quest to create a practical light bulb. He did not see each failed filament as a reason to quit. He reframed it as a discovery. He famously said he had not failed, but found 10,000 ways that would not work. Every single rejection of a material, a method, or a design was not a block. It was a signpost forcing him to refine his approach, to question his assumptions, and to push his creativity in directions he never would have considered without that friction. The final, successful light bulb was not created in spite of all those rejections. It was created because of them. Each no was a necessary step on the path to the ultimate yes. This is the mindset of a leader. When a proposal is rejected, they do not retreat, they lean in. They ask, what is this obstacle trying to teach me? What weakness in my plan is it revealing? What new path is it forcing me to discover? A leader embraces the friction of rejection as the very thing that sharpens their resolve and unlocks a level of creativity and strength that comfort and easy approval never could. That logical dissection of a rejection is a powerful tool, but it only prepares you for the leader's true work. A leader does not just analyze the obstacle. They walk directly into it because they understand the eighth tactic, the core Stoic mantra that the obstacle is the way. Every rejection you face is not a wall designed to stop you. It is the raw material, the very ingredient required for your growth. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. He does not look at the unshaped piece of steel and see a finished blade. He sees the potential within the rough metal. The fire, the hammer, the intense pressure, these are not enemies of the steel. They are the essential forces that will transform it from a useless lump into a weapon of incredible strength and sharpness. Your rejection is that fire, it is that hammer, it is the necessary friction that grinds away your rough edges and forges a more resilient version of you. History is filled with leaders and innovators who lived this principle. Consider the story of an inventor, someone like Thomas Edison, who faced not one or two, but thousands of rejections and failures in his quest to create a practical light bulb. He did not see each failed filament as a reason to quit. He reframed it as a discovery. He famously said he had not failed, but found 10,000 ways that would not work. Every single rejection of a material, a method, or a design was not a block. It was a signpost forcing him to refine his approach, to question his assumptions, and to push his creativity in directions he never would have considered without that friction. The final, successful light bulb was not created in spite of all those rejections. It was created because of them. Each no was a necessary step on the path to the ultimate yes. This is the mindset of a leader. When a proposal is rejected, they do not retreat, they lean in. They ask, what is this obstacle trying to teach me? What weakness in my plan is it revealing? What new path is it forcing me to discover? A leader embraces the friction of rejection as the very thing that sharpens their resolve and unlocks a level of creativity and strength that comfort and easy approval never could. This shift in focus is where the rubber meets the road. The ninth tactic is to focus on your circle of influence, a concept that builds on the dichotomy of control but takes it a crucial step further. While the dichotomy teaches you to accept what you cannot change, your circle of influence is all about what you can. Picture two concentric circles. The outer ring, your circle of concern, is vast and filled with everything you worry about, from global economics to that one person's opinion of you. Inside it sits a much smaller, more powerful circle, your circle of influence. This is where your energy actually makes a difference. It contains your efforts, your skills, your network, and your daily actions. After a rejection, most people pour all their energy into the outer circle, endlessly ruminating on the decision they cannot change. A leader does the exact opposite. They immediately turn their back on the immovable no and pour every ounce of their focus into that smaller, inner circle. They ask a single, powerful question. What can I influence right now? The answer is never nothing. Perhaps you can influence your understanding by sending a polite, professional email asking for specific feedback. Maybe you can influence your skills by taking an online course to address a weakness the rejection revealed. You could influence your network by reaching out to 3 new contacts in your industry. You could even influence your next proposal by starting a fresh draft tonight. This is the difference between being a passive victim of circumstance and an active agent of your own destiny. The person who fixates on the rejection is paralyzed. The leader who focuses on their influence is already in motion, taking tangible steps that rebuild momentum and restore a sense of command. You are no longer waiting for external validation. You are generating your own progress from within, building a foundation so solid that the next rejection, when it comes, will find you already moving confidently toward your next objective. That relentless focus on your circle of influence builds momentum, but a true leader knows that resilience is not built in the moment of crisis. It is forged in the quiet, deliberate choices you make every single day. This brings us to the 10th tactic, the practice of voluntary discomfort. You intentionally seek out small, manageable hardships to build a psychological callus against life's inevitable shocks, including the sting of rejection. Think of it as strength training for your mind. A leader who is already accustomed to minor discomforts will not be derailed by a major one. This is not about self-punishment or seeking out pain for its own sake. It is a strategic exercise in proving to yourself that you are tougher than your circumstances. Simple practices can serve as this training, taking a cold shower when a warm one is readily available. skipping a meal and sitting with the feeling of hunger for a few hours, choosing to have that difficult but necessary conversation you have been avoiding. Each time you do this, you send a powerful message to your deepest self. You demonstrate that discomfort is not an emergency. It is a temporary sensation that you can observe, endure, and move through without your entire world collapsing. When you voluntarily step into a cold shower, your initial instinct is to recoil, to escape the shock. But if you stand there, breathe through it, and accept the sensation, you are not just getting clean. You are rehearsing a fundamental life skill. You are practicing how to face any unpleasant situation with steady breath and unwavering resolve. So when that rejection email arrives, your nervous system does not go into a full-scale panic. It has already been conditioned. The discomfort feels familiar, almost expected. Your mind, trained by 100 small acts of voluntary hardship, remains calm and operational. It does not see a catastrophe. It sees another wave of discomfort to breathe through, another moment to apply reason and choose your response. A leader who practices this does not wait for rejection to build their character. They build their character in advance so that when rejection comes, it finds a fortress already prepared and unshaken. Your voluntary discomfort builds a resilient core, but even the strongest leader needs a foundation of purpose that no single rejection can shake. This is the 11th tactic, remembering your role and duty. A Stoic never defines themselves by a single job title or a solitary success. Instead, they see themselves as a complex network of essential roles, each with its own set of duties. You are not just a salesperson who just lost a client. You are a mentor to your team, a supportive partner at home, a responsible citizen in your community, and a curious learner in your field. When a rejection strikes in one area, like a creative project being turned down, a leader does not collapse their entire identity into that one failure. They simply turn their attention with renewed focus to another one of their roles. The energy that could have been wasted on despair is channeled into impeccably fulfilling a different duty. Perhaps you go home and be fully present with your family, listening intently and offering your support. Maybe you dedicate an evening to mentoring a junior colleague, sharing your knowledge freely. You could even perform a simple civic duty like cleaning up a local park. Each of these actions is a powerful declaration to yourself. You are saying, I am more than that one rejection. My worth is not determined by a single outcome. My value is demonstrated through my consistent, virtuous action across the entire spectrum of my life. By doing this, you accomplish two things. You prevent the rejection from poisoning your entire sense of self, and you keep yourself productively engaged in your broader mission. You are not sitting still, licking your wounds. You are in motion, contributing, and making a tangible difference in the roles that no one can ever take from you. This constant engagement with your duties becomes a source of unshakable stability, a deep well of purpose you can always draw from when one small part of your world says no. A leader's confidence does not come from a guarantee of success, but from a serene acceptance of all possible outcomes. This is the subtle power of the 12th tactic, the reserve clause. In every endeavor, from a high-stakes presentation to a simple request for help, you add a silent, mental caveat to your intention. You say to yourself, I will give this my absolute best effort, fate permitting. This is not a whisper of doubt or a lack of conviction. It is the ultimate strategic preparation. You are psychologically conditioning yourself for any result before it even happens. Think of a captain setting sail. He prepares his ship meticulously, plots his course with expert care, and gathers a skilled crew. He commits fully to the journey. But in the back of his mind, he knows the sea holds the final authority. A sudden storm, a shift in the winds, these are factors beyond his command. The reserve clause is that captain's humble acknowledgement of the ocean's power. He does everything within his control to reach his destination, but he does not rage against the waves if they turn him away. He simply adjusts his sails and recalculates his route. When you walk into a negotiation with this mindset, you perform with freedom, not with the desperate need for a specific yes. Your worth is not hanging in the balance. You have already affirmed your value through your rigorous preparation and your virtuous effort. The outcome, whether a handshake or a handshake declined, becomes a secondary detail. The rejection, when it comes, lands on a mind that has already made peace with its possibility. It does not feel like a personal failure because you never attached your entire self to an outcome you could not fully control. The reserve clause transforms your ambition from a fragile crystal glass, easily shattered by a single no, into a flexible, resilient material that can absorb the impact and spring back, ready for the next endeavor. The reserve clause frees you to act without desperation, but a leader then pivots to become a dedicated student of the outcome. Every single no, no matter how blunt or unfair it seems, is a container of raw intelligence waiting to be unpacked. This is the 13th tactic: find the lesson in every no. A leader approaches rejection not as a verdict, but as a field report from the front lines of reality. Your proposal was a hypothesis. The rejection is the data that proves your hypothesis needs refinement. The question is no longer, why did they say no, but what is this teaching me? The lesson might be about the market, revealing that your solution does not quite address the current pain points. It could be about your personal presentation, showing that your passion did not translate clearly through your words. It might be a brutal lesson about timing, showing your idea was ahead of its time or sadly behind it. Or it could be the most valuable lesson of all, a clear signal about your own current limits, pointing you directly to the specific skill or knowledge you need to acquire next. To make this tangible, give yourself a concrete mission after any rejection. Take out a notebook or open a new document and write down 3 specific things you learned from the experience. The first might be, I learned that my pricing model was confusing without a visual breakdown. The second could be, I learned that I need to practice answering unexpected objections without getting flustered. The third might simply be, I learned that this particular industry is not ready for disruptive ideas right now. This exercise forces a profound cognitive shift. You are no longer the victim of a negative event. You are an analyst on a valuable data-gathering mission. The sting of the rejection is replaced by the quiet focus of an investigator connecting clues. You are extracting actionable insights from the situation, turning a closed door into a signpost for your next move. This is how a leader remains a perpetual student, forever curious, forever adapting, and forever using every single experience, especially the painful ones, as fuel for an unstoppable education. Your work can be praised or criticized, but your character remains your own. This leads to the 14th Stoic tactic, cultivating a profound indifference to external praise and blame. This is not about becoming cold or unfeeling, shutting out the world in a fortress of arrogance. It is about building an unshakable inner anchor so that you are no longer tossed on the violent waves of other people's opinions. A leader who has done this work stands on solid ground. When a flood of praise comes in, they receive it with calm gratitude, perhaps even a quiet suspicion. They know that applause can be as fickle as the weather, and they do not allow it to inflate their sense of self. They accept the compliment, learn from it if there is truth to be found, and then they let it go, returning their focus to the work itself. The exact same principle applies when harsh criticism or a blunt rejection arrives. They receive it with the same calm demeanor. They do not crumble because their self-worth was never mortgaged to the approval of others in the first place. They examine the feedback with detached curiosity, asking, is there a useful signal in this noise? If there is, they integrate the lesson with the same quiet focus they applied to the praise. If the criticism is baseless, they dismiss it with the same ease they dismissed the empty flattery. Your value is not a popularity contest. It is not determined by a committee vote or the number of congratulatory emails in your inbox. It is built brick by brick through your integrity, your effort, and your commitment to your own principles. When you know in your bones that you acted with honesty and gave your best, no external verdict can ever truly touch you. You become like a deep-rooted tree in a storm. The wind may howl and the branches of circumstance may shake, but your core remains steady, already planning for the next season of growth. Every rejection you receive was delivered by another human being. It is easy to see them as a faceless agent of a system, a simple obstacle in your path. But the 15th tactic requires you to flip that script entirely and practice empathy towards the rejecter. This is not about excusing a poor decision, but about understanding the complex web of circumstances that led to it. Stoicism teaches the virtue of justice, which includes the duty to judge others fairly, to assume they are operating from their own logic and constraints until proven otherwise. The person who sent that rejection email is likely not a villain. They are probably an employee under immense pressure, juggling a dozen other priorities and forced to follow strict company protocols they did not create. Perhaps their budget was slashed at the last minute. Maybe their manager handed down a directive they cannot question. They might have even fought for your proposal in a meeting and been overruled, feeling a genuine pang of disappointment themselves. When you mentally walk a mile in their shoes, something profound happens. The rejection transforms from a personal attack into a simple outcome of a complex situation. The anger and resentment that so often accompany a no simply dissolve because you realize there is no malicious villain to be angry with. There is only another person doing their job, navigating their own set of challenges. This empathetic shift is a mark of true leadership. It allows you to part ways with absolute grace. Your response email can be polite and professional, even wishing them well. You leave the door open for future collaboration because you have not burned a bridge in a fit of pique. You understand that the person who rejected you today might be the very person who champions your next improved idea tomorrow. By seeing their humanity, you protect your own peace and preserve your network, turning a moment of potential conflict into a display of professional strength and understanding. Your own history is a living archive of your resilience, a personal library of proof that you have faced difficulty before and emerged stronger. The 16th tactic is to consciously remember the past adversities you have already overcome. When a new rejection lands with its familiar sting, pause for a moment and actively pull a specific volume from that library. Recall a time, perhaps just a few years ago, when a similar setback felt just as devastating. Think of that job application you were certain you would get, the one that ended with a generic, impersonal rejection. In that moment, it felt like the end of a dream. But what happened next? You likely updated your resume, you applied for other positions, and you eventually found a different role, one that taught you skills you are using right now. That old rejection, which once loomed so large, is now a footnote in your story, a small scar that proves you healed. A leader uses this practice as a source of concrete, unshakable confidence. They look at the current obstacle and say, I have seen this before, I have felt this pain, and I have a documented history of moving past it. This new rejection is not a unique catastrophe. It is simply another chapter in the ongoing story of your growth, a story that has always, without exception, involved overcoming challenges. You are not starting from scratch. You are building on a foundation of proven resilience, using the evidence of your own life to disarm the fear that this time is different. It is never different. You are the same person who has navigated every single one of your past difficulties, and you are more capable now than you have ever been. That deep-seated confidence in your own history allows you to perform for an audience of one. The 17th tactic is to focus entirely on the process, not the outcome. A Stoic leader finds their entire sense of satisfaction in the quality of their own actions. The result, whether a resounding yes or a disappointing no, becomes almost irrelevant. Think of a master craftsman building a beautiful wooden table. His entire focus is on the process. He selects the wood with care, joints each piece with precision, and sands the surface until it is perfectly smooth. He pours his skill, his attention, and his integrity into every single step. When the final coat of finish is applied, his work is complete. He feels a deep, quiet pride in the table itself, in the knowledge that he executed his craft flawlessly. Whether a customer immediately buys the table or walks past it without a glance does not change the quality of his work. The outcome is a separate event, influenced by the customer's taste, their budget, their current needs, factors the craftsman cannot control. His success was secured the moment he put down his tools, because his success was defined by the virtuous act of creation itself. This is the mindset that liberates you from the choking anxiety of results. When you are preparing for that big presentation, your goal shifts. It is no longer to secure the approval of the people in the room. Your goal becomes to communicate your ideas with absolute clarity, to answer questions with honesty, and to represent your work with integrity. You are playing a game where the only score that matters is the one you keep for your own effort. This focus allows you to perform at your peak, unburdened by the desperate need for a specific outcome. The fear of rejection simply evaporates because you have already won the only game you are ever truly playing, the game of acting in accordance with your own highest standards. The external verdict cannot take that victory away from you. That deep-seated pride in your process builds a powerful engine, but every engine needs fuel. The raw emotional surge that follows a rejection is pure, high-octane energy. Most people let it spill out, creating a toxic puddle of resentment and self-pity. A leader, however, sees it for what it is, an untapped power source. This is the 18th tactic, using rejection as fuel for discipline. The moment you feel that hot rush of frustration or that cold wave of disappointment, you have a critical choice to make. You can let it simmer inside you, poisoning your mood and paralyzing your progress, or you can capture it, refine it, and channel it directly into a disciplined action. Think of a blacksmith not just enduring the fire, but using its intense heat to reshape the metal. Your frustration is that fire. The disciplined action you take is the hammer. When a manuscript is rejected, a writer does not close their laptop and retreat to the couch. They use the sting of that impersonal form letter to fuel an extra hour of editing, sharpening each sentence with a new determination. An athlete who is cut from a team might take that raw disappointment straight to the gym, pushing through one more set of drills, using the physical exertion to transmute emotional pain into tangible strength. You are not avoiding the feeling, you are honoring it by putting it to work. You are saying, this emotion is too powerful to waste on brooding. I will use its energy to build something that did not exist before. That rejected proposal might fuel an hour of deep research into a competitor's strategy, revealing a gap you had missed. The painful feedback from a client could be the catalyst for finally enrolling in that public speaking course you have been putting off. This is the ultimate alchemy. You are taking the leaden weight of rejection and turning it into the gold of disciplined self-improvement. Every no becomes a direct investment in a future, more capable version of yourself, a version that will eventually command the yes that once eluded you. That raw emotional fuel can be channeled with such serious discipline that you might forget a leader's most surprising weapon. The 19th tactic is to maintain a sense of humor. This is not about telling jokes in the face of failure or pretending a setback is funny. It is about the profound emotional strength it takes to acknowledge the inherent absurdity of a situation, especially when you are the one caught in the middle of it. A leader who receives a rejection after months of hard work can choose to respond with a wry, internal smile. They see the cosmic joke, the unpredictable and often illogical nature of life, and they refuse to be crushed by it. This lightheartedness is a psychological shield. It prevents a single negative event from becoming a heavy, identity-defining tragedy that you are forced to carry on your shoulders for weeks. Think of a comedian on stage. If they tell a joke that completely bombs, greeted by nothing but silence from the audience, they have a choice. They can crumble, seeing the silence as a verdict on their entire worth. Or they can acknowledge the failure with a quick, self-deprecating remark. They might say, "Well, I guess we found the one joke that doesn't work," and then smoothly move on to the next bit. That ability to laugh at the misstep without letting it derail the entire performance is a mark of a true professional. It demonstrates a secure sense of self that is not shattered by a moment of imperfection. When you can look at your own overly serious reaction to a rejection and find the faintest hint of humor in your own dramatics, you have instantly reclaimed your power. You are no longer a tragic hero in a play about your own failure. You are simply a person navigating a complex world who understands that sometimes the most rational response to an irrational outcome is a quiet chuckle and a calm, determined step forward. A quiet chuckle at your own dramatics clears the air, but what comes next requires a more substantial guide. Your 20th tactic is to remember the sage. When that rejection lands and the first flash of heat rises to your cheeks, pause for just a moment and ask yourself one simple question. How would Marcus Aurelius handle this news? You are not expected to become a perfect philosopher king overnight, but you can borrow his perspective using this mental model as a template for your own behavior. Picture the Roman emperor not on a throne, but in his military tent on the dangerous frontier, writing in his private journal. He faced constant political betrayal, the deaths of his children, and the immense pressure of leading an empire. His personal writings, now known as meditations, were his own playbook for navigating these relentless storms. He would remind himself that the disturbance comes not from the event itself, but from his judgment of it. He would ask if this rejection harmed his character, his virtue, or his ability to act with justice. The answer would almost certainly be no. By mentally consulting this ideal of a Stoic sage, whether you imagine Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or another figure, you are not engaging in a fantasy. You are performing a powerful psychological switch. You are stepping out of your own limited, emotionally charged perspective and into a calmer, more principled one. You are asking, what would a person of perfect reason and virtue do right now? The template they provide is always the same. They would receive the news with calm acknowledgement, not emotional panic. They would separate the objective fact from their personal impression. They would immediately turn their focus to the one thing always within their power, their own next virtuous action. This mental model guides you away from the raw, unhelpful impulse to complain or despair and toward a response built on principle. Instead of firing off an angry email, you might draft a gracious thank you note. Instead of spiraling into self-doubt, you might open a book to improve your skills. The sage does not eliminate the feeling, but they show you how to act rightly in spite of it, transforming a moment of potential collapse into a deliberate display of leadership. Your mind can build a prison from a single word like no. That initial flash of disappointment is natural, but a leader recognizes the far greater danger, the story that your own thoughts begin to write immediately after. This is the 21st tactic, the conscious act of limiting the catastrophe narrative. You know the script. It starts with a simple fact: my proposal was rejected. Then, almost instantly, the mind adds a single, dangerous word: because. My proposal was rejected because I am not smart enough. That single link in the chain triggers an avalanche. If I am not smart enough, then I will never get a promotion. If I never get promoted, then my career is over. If my career is over, then I am a complete failure. In a matter of seconds, a single professional setback has been twisted into a life-shattering catastrophe. A leader hears that internal narrator begin its dramatic monologue and does something profoundly simple yet incredibly powerful. They interrupt it. They practice a form of cognitive interruption, sometimes even saying the word stop out loud or snapping a rubber band on their wrist to break the trance of that negative spiral. This is not about suppressing the feeling, but about arresting the fictional story before it can take root. Once the spiral is halted, you consciously reframe the thought, anchoring it back to the objective, limited reality. You replace the catastrophic narrative with the plain, unadorned truth. The truth is not "I am a failure." The truth is "my proposal was not accepted this time." That is all. There is no because, there is no therefore. There is only the event itself, stripped of the poisonous meaning your fear is trying to assign to it. By containing the event to its actual size, you prevent a small fire from burning down the entire forest of your confidence. You treat your runaway thoughts not as absolute truth, but as background noise, a faulty alarm you have learned to acknowledge and then confidently silence. This mental discipline ensures that a rejection remains a single data point in your journey, not the title of your autobiography. That catastrophic story you just silenced leaves a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. Your mind will try to fill it with something, so you must fill it first. The 20-second tactic is to practice gratitude for what remains. The moment you receive that rejection, your instinct is to stare at the closed door, fixating on the single thing you have lost. A leader makes a conscious, deliberate pivot. They turn their back on that one door and take a full inventory of the hallway, a hallway still lined with countless other doors that remain wide open. This is not a soft, feel-good exercise. It is a rapid and strategic antidote to the poison of self-pity. You physically take out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone, and you begin to list in simple, concrete terms the things you still have, the things no one can take from you with a single no. Start with the fundamentals. I am grateful for my health, for the ability to think and to work. I am grateful for the stable ground beneath my feet and the roof over my head. Then broaden the scope. I am grateful for the colleague who offered a kind word this morning. I am grateful for the other project I am leading that is still moving forward. I am grateful for the family waiting for me at home, whose love is not conditional on my professional success, and crucially, you include the rejection itself. I am grateful for the lesson this experience is forcing me to learn. I am grateful for the clarity it provides about what needs to improve. With each item you list, you are performing a profound act of mental accounting. You are shifting your focus from a single ledger entry of loss to the vast, overwhelming balance sheet of abundance that you still possess. The rejection begins to shrink, not because you are ignoring it, but because you are placing it in its proper, much smaller context. You are reminding yourself that your world is not defined by one outcome. It is built on a foundation of countless gifts that remain untouched and unshaken, ready to support your next move. That gratitude for your unshaken foundation reminds you that you are not an island. Your personal disappointment, while valid, is a single note in a vast, universal symphony of human striving and setback. This leads to the 23rd tactic, seeing yourself as part of a larger whole. The sting of rejection is so often amplified by a sense of isolation, the feeling that you alone have been singled out for this particular misfortune. But a leader actively counters this illusion. They step back from their own bruised ego and recognize a simple, profound truth. At this very moment, all across the planet, thousands of other people are receiving their own versions of your rejection email. An aspiring author is opening a form letter from a publisher. A talented musician is being told their sound is not a good fit for a label. A hopeful candidate is learning they did not get the job. You are not suffering a unique punishment. You are participating in a fundamental, universal rite of passage for anyone who dares to put their work into the world. This realization is not meant to minimize your experience, but to contextualize it. It drains the poison of personalization from the event. When you understand that rejection is a shared human condition, it becomes less about you and more about the intricate, often unpredictable dance of opportunity and fit. A leader finds a strange comfort in this commonality. Instead of feeling isolated in their struggle, They feel connected to the silent, resilient army of dreamers and builders who have also been told no, who have also felt that sharp pang, and who have also chosen to keep moving forward. This perspective fosters a deep sense of compassion, both for yourself and for others. You become less likely to see the person who rejected you as an adversary, and more likely to see them as another participant in this shared human drama. Your own rejection becomes a bridge to understanding the struggles of everyone around you, transforming a moment of personal setback into a source of profound connection and collective strength. Your posture is the first signal your brain receives about your state of mind. The 24th tactic is to act as if you are unfazed, a powerful principle of behavioral psychology. Even when you feel the sting of rejection most acutely, you consciously choose to embody the physical and vocal composure of a leader who cannot be knocked off center. This is not about faking it until you make it in some superficial sense. It is about using the machinery of your own body to reprogram your mind. When you receive that difficult news, your immediate, raw instinct might be to slump your shoulders, to let your gaze drop, or to speak with a deflated, quiet voice. These physical cues send a direct message to your emotional brain, reinforcing the narrative of defeat. But if you, in that very moment, consciously straighten your spine, lift your chin, and soften your expression into one of calm acceptance, you send a completely different signal. You are essentially telling your nervous system, this is not an emergency. We are handling this with grace. The same applies to your actions. Instead of closing your laptop and withdrawing, you act as if you are already moving forward. You might send a gracious, professional thank you email to the person who rejected you, demonstrating that your composure is unbroken. You could immediately open a new document and jot down the first 3 ideas for your next project. These are not just actions, they are a performance of resilience for the most important audience you have, yourself. Over time, this consistent practice of controlling your external demeanor begins to rewire your genuine internal response. The gap between the act and the authentic feeling narrows until one day you realize the composure is no longer an act. You have, through disciplined behavior, mastered your state from the outside in, transforming the theater of leadership into the reality of your character. This final behavioral layer prepares you for the ultimate integration, where all these tactics unite into a single, seamless reflex for navigating any rejection life can offer. This final act of composure, holding your head high even when you do not feel like it, requires one last, decisive motion to complete the transformation. The 25th and culminating tactic is to make a ritual of letting go. After you have processed the rejection logically, after you have extracted its lessons and practiced gratitude, there often remains a stubborn, emotional residue, a ghost of the disappointment that lingers and threatens to pull you back into the past. A leader understands that to truly move forward, you must consciously and ceremoniously close that chapter. Create a simple, personal ritual to symbolically release the event. You could write the details of the rejection on a single piece of paper, describing the sting, the frustration, the entire weight of it. Then, safely and with intention, you could burn that paper in a fireplace or a metal bowl, watching the physical representation of your setback turn to ash and smoke, disappearing into the air. If fire is not an option, you might tear the paper into tiny pieces and drop them into a recycling bin, or even just state aloud to yourself in a quiet moment, I release this outcome and choose to move forward. This is not a superstitious act, it is a powerful psychological signal, a deliberate line in the sand drawn by your own hand. The ritual creates a clear, tangible break between the past event and your present moment. It tells your mind this is over. We have learned from it, we have grown from it, and now we are setting it down so our hands are free to grasp what comes next. It is the ultimate declaration that you are the author of your story, and you have just chosen to turn the page. These 25 tactics form a complete operating system for the mind, a framework for transforming the raw shock of rejection into the steady fuel of leadership. Stoicism does not ask you to become an unfeeling robot, untouched by disappointment. Instead, it offers a far more powerful path, the path of mastering your response. Each tactic you have learned, from premeditating evils to ritualizing release, is a deliberate choice to reclaim your agency. You are not avoiding the sting, you are using its energy to forge a calmer, wiser, and more resilient version of yourself. This is the ultimate transformation, where every no becomes a loud and clear invitation to grow. Your mission now is to move from understanding to action. The next time you face a rejection, do not let it trigger the old, automatic cycle of self-doubt. Instead, pause, look back over these 25 strategies and choose just one, only one, to put into practice. Will you journal your impressions to separate fact from fiction? Will you focus on your circle of influence and take one tangible step forward? Or will you simply stand up straight and act as if you are unfazed, letting your body lead your mind toward composure? Make that single choice your personal experiment in leadership. Then come back here and share what happened. Tell us which tactic you used and what you discovered in the comments below. Let us build a community of Stoic-minded leaders, learning from each other's setbacks and celebrating each other's growth. The next rejection is not a threat. It is your next training ground.